Hi, everybody. Peter Lurie here to take you through the week that was on HRTV. On Pursuit, Millie Ball brought the latest Belmont news in the Belmont 411.
Now it's time for my 411. We checked in with some connections to find out how you train a horse up to a 1.5 mile race.
Well, he'll work one more time on Monday, but he's doing well. He's a very steady horse. He's one of these horses that I think the distance shouldn't be a problem for him. I think he has the right style for it. 1.5 miles, it's, it can be a little grueling, but he looks like he's up for the task. We didn't get the 1.5 miles going fast enough. That's another thing, but so far he looks great.
He's worked well each Saturday. He's training very well. We're going to work him again this Saturday, and he's doing very well, sound and healthy and happy. He's plenty fit, and he's had plenty of races, so we will go a little quicker this Saturday, but he's ready to go. We wish the Belmont was this Saturday. He's doing great.
Went 5/8 and 101 and change, did it the right way. It's all what you would want to see. I'll keep him here, and I know that I'll gallop him just to make sure everything is good, and then I'll be looking to send him over. So.
And what gives you the impression that he can get the 1.5 miles?
My owner gives me that impression, so I'm going to hope that he's right.
And the runner-up in the Kentucky Derby, Icebox, had a bullet 46-3 over the Oklahoma training track at Saratoga this morning. A very similar move, in fact, to the one he made before the Kentucky Derby. I spoke this afternoon with trainer Nick Zito, who couldn't have been more excited about him. He said he galloped out very well under exercise rider Maxine Correa. And Fly Down, he will likely work on Sunday or preferably Monday, but that will be dependent on the weather. And both colts will ship on Wednesday from Saratoga to Belmont, so the Wednesday right before the race.
Lafitte and Jeff were joined by trainer Dale Romans on the phone with his thoughts on First Dude's Belmont potential.
Dude, big run in the Preakness Stakes, also Patio Prado in the Kentucky Derby. Your thoughts looking back, can you be proud of what they accomplished in the Derby of the Preakness, or do you walk away a little frustrated thinking that you should have won one, the other, or perhaps both?
Well, you have to be proud of the horses. They both ran big races, and you have to be pleased. I mean, definitely we wanted to win. There were a couple of times in both races when I thought we were going to win. So immediately after the race, I was a little disappointed. But looking back, I'm pretty happy with the way the Triple Crown's gone for us.
Dale, First Dude set really realistic, if not fast fractions, 46-2, 111-1. That's moving right along at Pimlico, and he hung on very, very gamely. Probably won't have to go anywhere near that fast at Belmont. Is he the kind of horse that can kind of switch off and go into cruise control?
He is. I mean, he can do whatever Ramon decides to do with him. I mean, he can even sit off horses. He doesn't have to be on the lead. We'd like to see him have a clean trip and not have to stop and restart. But if there's no pace and Ramon goes to the lead and it slows it down, I think he'll just turn it off and gallop as long as he wants to.
Are you happy, Dale, with the way the Belmont Stakes has come up in terms of race shape? There really doesn't seem to be a lot of speed other than a First Dude. That being the case, will the instructions to Dominguez be to put him on the lead?
Well, we'll do like we did in the Preakness. Ramon to give him a shot leaving there and then just leave it in his hands. I mean, he definitely knows his way around Belmont Park, and we'll just let him decide after that. If he feels like he's going out in a comfortable, easy pace, then that's fine. If somebody guns out of there thinking they're going to outfoot us, we'll let them go.
How's the colt done since the Preakness? You've got 3 weeks to get him all revved up again. Is he on schedule just like you hope?
Yeah, he's done great. He came out of the race in good shape, and he's an improving horse. He just keeps getting better, and I don't think we've seen the best of him. He was kind of a big, gawky colt as a 2-year-old, and it's taken him a while to figure it out. He's always had a lot of natural talent, but it seems like the Preakness was his breakthrough, and he might have figured out racing.
Gary Stevens called in from Kentucky to give his thoughts on how the Belmont is shaping up.
What happens, guys, in those races that looks like there's no speed? The Belmont, somebody's going to go. There's going to be plenty of speed, I think.
Does Ramon go with First Dude, in your opinion? I mean, it almost worked out in the Preakness for him.
Yeah, he's a big, long striding colt. I can't see any way to take something away from him that's there. For sure, I think he'll be forwardly placed, and with that big, long stride that he's got, reminds me a lot of a big horse I used to ride named Point Given.
We're going to start with Stately Victor here, Gary. Worked 5 furlongs over the Churchill Training Center, 46-4 on Tuesday. Your thoughts on Stately Victor moving forward?
Well, all of my spies at the training center say that the horse is doing awesome. He looks great. I like that they skipped the Preakness with him. He didn't run a bad race in the Kentucky Derby at all. You know, he runs back to his race in the bluegrass, and I think he's got a heck of a shot. And like you guys, like Jeff pointed out, pace is going to be the big factor. But I think First Dude is going to show a lot of pace, and I think that somebody's going to come after him early, setting things up for a horse like Stately Victor or possibly Fly Down.
Talk about Zito's 2 horses, and I think maybe Icebox getting most of the ink right now. But Fly Down's got that very important and impressive win over the track. That's got to give him an edge, I would think, in some sort.
I actually love this horse. I love the Dwyer, and you know, forget about the final time was slow. They had a huge headwind that day at Belmont Park, and you know, he just took him about a 16th of a mile to get in stride, and he was just very professional in the way he did things early on. You know, he got into his rhythm, started closing ground around the 4 furlong pole, coming around that big turn at Belmont Park. And, you know, as we watched the replay, Drosselmeyer down on the inside with Kinza Sormo. He's a horse that we all liked a little bit before the Louisiana Derby and just didn't show up. His races in Louisiana, and I think he's a horse that maybe is coming around a little bit. He got stopped cold really at the head of the stretch when Fly Down was making his big run. Fly Down goes on, wins the race easily, but I think Drosselmeyer is going to have some input in the Belmont as well with Billy Mott and Kinza Sormo.
Game On Dudes owner Bernie Scapo was the guest on this week's Across the Board.
Well, I was there, experienced it. It was a lot of fun. It was inaudible that Bob Baffert called, as usual. He's a master at doing these type of things. We weren't scheduled to run there, and next thing you know, he called me and says that there's a change in plans. The horse is going to Texas to run in the Long Star Derby. I said, okay. So here we go.
What were the other options for him?
I leave that up to Bob. You know, I don't get too much advice. You know, he's smart. I give suggestions now and then, or give him a little hint now and then. But that's why Bob's in the Hall of Fame. He knows what he's doing.
What do the big trainers always say? Never suggest, just never insist.
You know, there's a lot more to Bob Baffert than a lot of people know, and I'm not here to talk about Bob Baffert. If you want, I'd be more than happy to tell you. But he's
watching, by the way.
I'm sure he is. He's a special trainer. And he's a special guy also. Mm-hmm. He's a great human being, and he has a great family, and that's what makes his success, because his family with all his brothers and sisters and his mom and dad and all his relationships with his children and his wife Jill, of course, and Bodie is just a team. It's all a team. And they root for Bob all the time, and it's a wonderful thing to be around. And I've been lucky to be part of it, and they've let me in. And I can tell you just one quick thing that. I retired last year, and my dream was, go to the Kentucky Derby with a horse, but I wasn't fortunate enough to have a horse, so I went along with Bob, and I was there for a couple of weeks with Bob and with Pioneer and Nile and Mr. Zayad and his group, and we didn't win, but we had a lot of fun. But the thing was, Bob was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and one of Bob's things was that he wanted his mom and dad to hopefully see that before they're not around anymore. I says, well, Bob, they're going to have that dream because we're going to take them. And that's what we did. We got a plane and we took the whole family up there, and it was one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had. Not just winning a horse race, it was seeing the family together, and not to dwell on that, and a lot of great experiences being around Bob and his family and his owners. And the one other great experience, besides having horses win and places we've had them win, but winning the Preakness with Bob this year, being there and standing behind Mike Pegram and his son and his grandson, and watching the emotion that Mike grabbed his son and his grandson and hugged him and had tears coming in his eyes, was just overwhelming for me. It was great. It was just a fantastic experience to see that, and it's something special that you see in horse racing, and that people get involved with this game. Like, I love the game, and and everybody around it has to love it. And you don't need to be in this game if you don't love the horses and the people around it.
On Against the Odds, Jeff and Aaron cleaned up with some solid Saturday stakes picks.
Ayla Lee, or Ella Lee, however you want to pronounce it, coming out of the Kentucky Oaks. She was 5th in that race of 14. That's a pretty good race under the circumstance. Now she shortens up to a 1-turn mile, and she's maybe the quote-unquote class of the field, having won the Tempted at a 1-turn mile, a rated race in New York last year as a 2-year-old. So a 1-turn mile might be perfect for Ayla Lee.
Ayla Lee, an all-out drive, leads now by 2.5 lengths. Fuzzy Britches in second. Tapping is flying from the back of the pack. Ayla Lee is out in front, driven to the line. Ayla Lee wins the Dogwood Stake.
Plenty of speed signed on in the Hanshin, and I think that the Country Flavor, who's 12-1 on the morning line, the last run is going to win this race. And just by the way, you'll see James Taffel silks, as this is a Taffel homebred who broke the maiden on Polytrack at Arlington Park. So unlike Recapture the Glory, absolutely proven on synthetic.
Country Flavors in front. Top of the stretch in the Hanshin Cup. Matt Flatter under pressure. Granastrino is charging now. Between horses, Recapture the Glory. Tybalt is storming home. Final 16th. Tybalt is charging after Country Flavor. Granastrino's third. Inez Carlson and Country Flavor in the Hanshin Cup.
But I like Tiziquina. I'm not sure what happened last time out. 24 and change, 49 and change. Tiziquina should have been on the lead on a dawdling pace at Churchill Downs on turf. Gomez off. E.T. Baird, the send rider, is on.
3/4, 116 and 3. Tiziquina and the final furlong of the Arlington Matron. Here comes Euphony. Honka between horses. Ask but I won't tell up the fence. Floating Heart is charging hard, but in deep stretch. Tiziquina. Tiziquina led throughout.
Well, Todd's got 2 in the race, and if you're looking for an exacta box, or maybe a straight exacta, just go with the other Pletcher. I think Hourglass in here at 7-2 on the morning line deserves a look. It's a similar style as the other Pletcher trained entrant, Malibu Prayer. Jeff, it looks like this race is going to be won by a horse who can rate, sit, and pounce on all the speed, and Hourglass is that kind of horse.
Rightly so, has a narrow lead. Hourglass is coming up on her inside. Tar Heel Mom and Starlight both closing hard on the far outside. Rightly so, down inside on the far outside, it's Tar Heel Mom. Tar Heel Mom has come away with the lead at the 16th pole. Hourglass down inside, rightly so, and Starlight. 3 of them hit the wire, and Hourglass got there.
In anticipation of Saturday's Aristides Stakes, Attaboy Roy's trainer Valerie Lund called into race day.
Your horse has worked so well at Churchill in his last 2 moves, and even the workout prior to the Churchill Downs Stakes when he worked in 46. He always works so fast. It's something that we saw at Surf Paradise. But I've got to ask you, Valerie, was the idea always to stay back at Churchill, or were plans immediately changed following his win on Derby Day?
No, it might seem odd, but the plan was always to come and to stay. I talked to his owners before we came out here, and I said, you know what? This horse is, in my opinion, got a live shot. It's going to be his best year ever. He's a 5-year-old. He's training better than ever. His feet issues, which he fought quarter cracks all last year, are completely cleared up. He's in great shape, and our plan was to come here, one, make sure that he liked the surface at Churchill, which the first time we worked over it, we knew he liked the surface. Stay here, run somewhere back east here, and then take in the Breeders' Cup.
As they come down the stretch, Chief Affairs is out in front. 44 seconds for the half mile. Attaboy Roy is still there. Riley Tucker's got a seam to the inside rail. Cash Refund and all-out drive. Attaboy Roy now has the lead of half a length. Riley Tucker surges through on the inside for Sean Bridgman, and it is Riley Tucker who takes the Aristides and a second win in the race for trainer Steve Asmussen. Riley Tucker takes Attaboy Roy, Cash Refund, and Chief of Affairs.
Personal Ensign's jockey Randy Romero was selected as part of the 2010 Hall of Fame class.
Thank you so kindly. It's a great honor, and its dreams do come true. I'll tell you, I'm so fortunate, and thank God to keep me safe and as long as He has. I went through a lot, but I'm very fortunate, and I'm so happy to be inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Randy, I was just going to say that you've been through so much in your life. You've been on top with the success with Personal Ensign. You've gone through the personal tragedy, and to now get this, you know, does it just bring it all together? Does it put a nice little bow on top of it as far as your career?
It put the icing on the cake, just like I was saying. If I die today, I've accomplished all what I wanted to accomplish. I'm very, very fortunate, and God bless me. He really has.
Randy, when you were nominated for this, did you allow yourself to even dream that it was a possibility that you would be in the 2010 class?
Well, they nominated me 8 times now. And I just say it's going to be in my time one day, you know. I can't get mad at everybody that made it. I called them up and congratulated them. And they told me, Eddie, if it was the last one. And he says, you're going to be in it one day. I said, I'm going to be in it next year, Eddie. So I was so excited about it. And, guys, it's a great honor. It really, really is. I was riding match races at 9 years old, weighed 75 pounds, and I wanted to be a jockey. But I never dreamed that it would go this big and this powerful. And my book is out now, Randy Romero's Remarkable Ride. It's selling really well, and we're working on my movie about when I was started at 9 years old. It's called Riding on the Edge. And we've got the producer and the script writer, and we're working on that right now.
Legendary jockey Eddie Della Houssaye gave his thoughts on fellow Cajun rider Randy Romero's Hall of Fame induction.
I would like to actually switch gears right to the Hall of Fame today. We saw earlier Randy Romero inducted into the Hall of Fame. What's it mean to have a fellow Cajun achieve that honor like you achieved in '93?
Well, it's great. He was a great rider and a hard worker, and he deserved it and won a lot of great races. And you know, those guys that come out of Louisiana, they work hard, and a lot of people work hard wherever, but it seems like more and more come out of that part of the country than anywhere else. And we've had quite a few Hall of Fame riders come out of there.
Did you have a chance to ride a lot with Randy?
Yes, I rode a lot with him in our younger days. And naturally, he stayed on the East Coast, and I came on the West Coast, so we didn't ride that much together then. But when he was younger, yes, I rode quite a bit with him. And he was always a very aggressive rider.
Is that the style that you guys came out of Louisiana with, or was it just kind of a, you know, your own sort of style coming out of Louisiana? Is there something similar between all you guys?
Not really. I think it's everybody's a little different, but Randy was always a hustling rider, you know. And naturally, as you get older, you learn your trade a little better, because we all started riding quarter horses. So you had to adapt when you started riding thoroughbreds. So, you know, he's well-deserved to be in the Hall of Fame.
Churchill Downs' Darren Rogers gives Race Day a preview of this year's first Downs After Dark event.
Tell us about the theme for our June the 11th Downs After Dark. Disco at the Downs. Is this like the old Disco Inferno night from Cleveland decades ago, where you bring your disco records and everybody burns them and we do a big thing like that?
No, we won't be burning any records, but we will be burning the dance floor.
Burning down the house.
You know, we're looking to try and grow this and keep it fun and fresh. It's all about having fun, Downs After Dark, and it really was, you know, turning Churchill Downs into one of Louisville's ultimate nighttime hot spots. And we successfully did that last year with, you know, more than 30,000 fans on hand as an average for the three dates that we did a market test last year. So, you know, we've invested you know, about $4 million in installing the permanent lights, and we've got 6 dates on tap this year. We'll do the final 4 Fridays of the spring meet, starting Friday, June 11th, and we wanted to come up with a different theme for each of the nights. And so the first one, right off the bat, is going to be Disco at the Downs. And, we're looking to just have some fun with it. We'll have, obviously, a 70s theme of the music throughout the night. We're encouraging people to, bust out those flared trousers and, platform shoes and get out the bell bottoms. I might even, dust off a visit to the thrift store, and I got to find something to wear. I don't know. It's got to be good.
Darren,
we're having some costume contests, dance competitions, disco balls. I mean, it's all about having fun at the races, and that's what we're going to do.
Trainer Todd Pletcher called into Grandstand to discuss Quality Road's return to Monday's Met Mile.
And to the star of the show is in the older horse ranks. Quality Road, how is he doing? How has he trained since the Don Handicap? And what are you expecting from him Monday in the Met Mile?
Well, he's trained brilliantly like he normally does. We were able to kind of freshen him up after the Don and kept him at Palm Meadows, and we're able to train him very lightly and just kind of freshen him up a bit without leaving the track. And mentally he has the right kind of disposition where he's able to do that and keep himself level and not get too excited. So we're able to do that, and the idea is we're going to hopefully coming up to the Met prepared for a big race and have a fresh horse for the rest of the summer and hopefully the fall in the Breeders' Cup at Churchill.
Todd, physically, how has Quality Road been? We know he had some foot issues last year, which prevented his participation in the Triple Crown. And, of course, mentally, he can be a handful as well, at least in terms of when you put him on a van. Has he matured now, and both physically and mentally? Do you like where he's at going into the Met Mile?
Physically, he's a beautiful specimen, and he always has been. But he's really matured into a lovely horse. And to be honest with you, the mental stuff is way overrated or overblown. We had the unfortunate situation at the Breeders' Cup, and he's really not a problem at the gate on a daily basis. He's not a problem to travel. He's not a problem to put on an airplane. Just kind of everything went wrong at the wrong time last year, but he doesn't deserve to have a bad reputation because he's not in any way a difficult horse.
On race day, Carolyn surprises Scott with a gift courtesy of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Speaking of Arlington, that's sort of, home for you growing up in Chicago. And I know throughout the years how important family has been to you. And I just want you to know that you have a family in Chicago. Now, we've been talking up the Blackhawks just a little bit here. And Patrick Kane, famous for his mullet on this Blackhawks sweater.
No way.
Sent an autographed jersey to Scott, autographed by Patrick Kane.
That is one of the coolest things.
Is that not the coolest thing ever?
I want to give you a hug, but I'll save it for off camera. That is way too cool.
So there you go, courtesy of the Chicago Blackhawks as they look to end that 49-year drought Saturday night as they begin the Stanley Cup
I grew
finals.
up a Penguins fan, and the last time that the Blackhawks were in the Stanley Cup Finals, I went to Game 4 when the Penguins actually hoisted the cup at Old Chicago Stadium. But I'm rooting for Chicago now as the Penguins are out, and I've got good friends that are fans of the Blackhawks, and Jerry LaSalla, a rider in Chicago, he's got ties to the Blackhawks, to Denny Savard, Eddie Olczyk, and those guys. So that is awesome. I mean, that's way too cool.
And this is Dustin Bufflin's. This one was sent to me personally by Big Buff. 6'4", 257 pounds. So go Blackhawks.
Holy cow.
That's all for this week on HRTV. Here's a look at what's coming up next week.
Following his sprint win in the Amsterdam.
Very good.
What is this, by the way?
To all of our friends in California, welcome to Indiana Downs.
Well, thank you.
I didn't know. What
it's kind of like a...
I didn't know that track was in Hawaii. Apparently.
Is that called? Is that the hula dance?
Yeah.
Right.
It is.